The National League Cy Young Award is shaping up to be a very interesting race.
Yes, it is.
You've got really, I think you can make a good case for 4 different guys. Jake Arrieta of the Cubs, a couple of Dodgers, Kershaw and Greinke, and I'm going to throw a guy who's in town right now with the Pittsburgh Pirates, Garrett Cole, into that conversation. Who would you give that award to right now?
I'll tell you what, I'm glad you threw Cole into that conversation because I believe that he is not quite getting the recognition that some of the others are getting. But for me, I think that Greinke has pitched better than Kershaw. But Jake Arrieta, what he's done with the Chicago Cubs, a team that I'm not sure, I do think they were a playoff team. I'm not sure they are where they are now without him. The way that he has pitched not only at Wrigley but on the road, and it seems like whenever there's the least bit of trouble, Arrieta steps out and gets the job done. So if I were voting, I would vote for Jake Arrieta on this.
Oh, I totally agree with you. Arrieta, since the All-Star game, 13 quality starts with an ERA under 1, first time in Major League history in that sort of situation after the All-Star game. He's number 2 in innings pitched. He's number 2 in ERA, number 2 in WHIP, number 2 in, what's the other one that I'm looking for? WAR.
Yeah.
Who's number 1 in those areas? Well, Greinke's number 1 in most of them, but right. Arrieta's also number 6 in strikeouts, where Clayton Kershaw has had his strength. He's the first guy to 20 wins. And I know everybody's into statistics, but 20 wins is 20 wins.
Right.
And so, and the Cubs wouldn't be where he is, where they are without him. So I think Greinke and Kershaw are going to split some of the votes. I think that Arrieta not only is going to win it, but I think he deserves to win it.
Well, I do think he deserves to win. When you look at that after the All-Star break performance, he is the reason why the Cubs have a chance to get home field in the wild card. But I'm glad we're not totally sleeping on Garrett Cole, because we've seen, what, 3 or 4 times recently where Clint Hurdle has changed his rotation to make sure that Cole pitches in the big games. I mean, he has pointed to, you are the guy, and he's held up pretty well with that.
What would you think of Cole and Arrieta going against each other in the wild card game?
That would be fun.
That would be lots of fun to watch. I mean, and hopefully it's a good game. I was at the wild card game last year where Madison Bumgarner came into a very hostile crowd in Pittsburgh and totally shut the place down. I would like to see a better game, obviously, but that would be a lot of fun.
Very quickly, if you will, the National League MVP race. Maybe not up for grabs. Bryce Harper seems to be a runaway winner. But do you ignore the fact his team is not going to the playoffs? And if that's the case, shouldn't Arenado be in the conversation? His team's not going to the playoffs? Or do you give it to a guy with lesser stats and Andrew McCutchen, whose team is going to the playoffs?
Boy, that's a really difficult one, because it's almost a foregone conclusion that Bryce Harper is going to get it, but the fact he's not going to the playoffs bothers me. And then when he's not going to the playoffs, I start comparing his numbers to Arenado's, and they're very close, very similar, and Arenado is a better defensive player. For me, I look at Andrew McCutchen, because that team is going to the playoffs. Yeah, a little bit lesser stats, but you look at the year he's had. He had to overcome a horrendous slump early. There was even a hypothesis out there that he was injured because he wasn't pulling the ball. Then all of a sudden he starts getting going, and that entire team gets going.